Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another episode of basically our movie reviews. It's with me, Sean Waskrug, and my co-host, Brian Michaels, who hates doing movie reviews, but I drug him to this one because it's Cocaine Bear. This is one of Brian's most anticipated films for the last 2 years. It was not on my radar last year, but it definitely was on my radar this year. This is a movie that when Brian first told me about it, I went, that's never getting made. And here we are. This is a movie that I said, Brian has been excited about this movie for a very, very long time. Now, whether that met Brian's expectations is an entirely different thing, because I do not know what Brian's thoughts are. Most people who follow his Letterboxd probably already do, but I made sure to steer clear of it, so I went into this review cold with what Brian thought, as well as me. Brian, general thoughts of Cocaine Bear before we jump into the actual review.
This is one of those things where, like you said, I've been anticipating it for a long time, mainly just because it's one of those things where all you need to do is hear the concept of it. It's just a bear stumbles across a bag of cocaine and does the cocaine, and there's a bear on the wild. That's really all you need to know, and that concept alone has such potential to it. But then once you attach, Lord Miller producing it, you had Elizabeth Banks who was directing it. You had a cast of people I like pretty much everybody in the cast.
Pretty solid cast.
Yeah, so I was going into this with relatively high expectations. I didn't expect it to be like life-changing event or anything like that, but I went into it thinking it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I think with you and I, like, we went into this with we aren't going into this like Ant-Man, where we're like, I want this to be something greater than what it probably could be. It's Cocaine Bear. We just want the story to basically be what the movie is, and to not suck, and to just be enjoyable and have a fun time watching it. We're not expecting an Oscar-worthy performances from this cast of people that we do like. We want to enjoy it. We want to have fun watching it. We want the kills to be gruesome and bloody, and we want the cast to just be passable enough to get the plot going. This is going to be a non-spoiler review, so anyone worrying because Brian is here, because when Brian's here, we do a spoiler. We're going to keep this non-spoiler. Not that there's really a whole lot to spoil. The movie basically is what it is. It's a cocaine bear on the loose. That's pretty much it. But we're not going to give away who dies and stuff like that. But for the most part, there's not much to spoil about this movie. A bear eats cocaine, a lot of cocaine, and basically goes batshit crazy. That's the plot of the movie. That's the movie the whole way through. But since this was such an anticipated film for Brian, I'm going to let Brian take this away. I'll kind of play backup to this. Okay. So Brian, what were your thoughts of Cocaine Bear?
So first of all, the general plot of the movie is essentially somebody running drugs in a plane.
Based on a true story, by the way.
Inspired by a true story.
It's inspired by... Okay, based on the true story. Let's get this out of the way. It happened in 1985. I think for the most part, the beginning is pretty spot on.
Yeah, a drug running plane threw bags out into the forest where somebody else is going to go back and retrieve them. A bear got into them, ate a bunch of cocaine. Supposedly, the real story is the bear just then died.
Yeah, so he ate 75 pounds of cocaine, died instantly. There was no bear rampage in real life.
Yeah,
bear just
but of course the idea of wait a minute, bear does cocaine, that could be a great movie. So in this movie, the bear gets into the cocaine, and of course now he's just like fiending for more cocaine. So every time he comes, he's looking for more of it. He's finding more of these bags. He's finding the people who are coming after their own drugs. He comes across them, and then there's a mother looking for her lost child who is somewhere in the forest, and it's just the bear on the loose. That's all you need to know.
The bear is willing to attack anyone who he thinks is trying to take the cocaine from him, much like a dog going after someone who tries to take its bone.
Yes. Yeah. So I assume everyone's probably seen the trailer for this movie. And the thing about this trailer is if you enjoyed the comedy moments and the bear action that you saw in that trailer, that's good, because that's pretty much all of it. The movie didn't really have much more to add beyond what was in the trailer. It was a lot of filler scenes like that. There's a little bit of more here and there where they kind of added on to it, and obviously that they couldn't show in some of the trailers. But honestly, I was disappointed by this movie. And it wasn't because I had these high, lofty expectations. I just wanted to see them explore this concept as best they could. But it seems to me it's like they took this concept And if I hadn't seen a trailer for it, I may have enjoyed it more than I did, which I didn't. I didn't hate the movie. I didn't dislike the movie at all. I was just disappointed in it because, like I said, what you saw in the trailers is pretty much all there was to it for the most part. Um, and the concept has such potential. And I said this in my Letterboxd review. It's just the idea of it. I think if like James Gunn, for instance, had done this, if he wrote and directed this movie, this could have been like a comedy classic. I think he could have done something phenomenal with it. I think if Lord Miller had written and directed it instead of just producing it for having, I don't even know who the writer was, and having Elizabeth Banks direct, I think they could have made a very funny movie. But instead, what we got, it's okay.
Not shocking, because I knew when Brian was like, "Do we really have to do this?" I was like, I have guarantee you probably didn't enjoy the movie as much as I did. I went in with low expectations. Like I said, I just didn't want it to suck. I wanted to just have fun and enjoy it. And for the most part, I enjoyed this. I think it was a solid film. It literally is what it is. It's a cocaine bear on a rampage. I do think that they do take a lot of time developing all of these subplots for a bunch of characters.
It took a while to get going, and I was thinking, well, I've heard decent things about, I've heard good things about it, so I'm sure it'll kick into gear in the second half. And for me, I mean, it kind of did, but not enough. But yes, it took a long time to get going. There were too many characters.
There's a lot of subplots. There's a lot of characters, obviously, so they can add some fodder to the bear. And there's a lot of stories that really don't matter. There's a subplot with a cop that really has no real worth in the film. There's a subplot with a park ranger and a
it's a wildlife.
What is Tyler Ferguson's character?
He's some kind of wildlife
like supervisor or some
monitor or super. Yeah,
yeah. He goes out there to monitor the woods to make sure everything's the way it should be. There's a subplot for that, not necessarily really needed. You can just say, hey, he's there to monitor. You didn't have to add this whole subplot about her having a crush on him and all this kind of stuff. You add this subplot for these teenagers. There's a subplot with Carrie Russell and her kids, which is probably the strongest story besides the drug running story, which is, led by Ray Liotta, O'Shea Jackson Jr., and Alden Ehrenreich, who, frankly, I haven't seen much of anything with Alden in it since Solo. Those are probably the two driving forces of the storylines, with everything else is kind of just there to get them to the forest, and then their storylines relatively drop. But the problem is that there is a lot of time given to these stories that you just like, much like Jaws, but Jaws is written by, top class people and shot brilliantly by Steven Spielberg, where it's like, yes, you're not really seeing much of the shark, but the story is fantastic and very well directed and acted. You do get plenty of the bear, probably not as much as we wanted, but it's a bear attacking people. You can only do so much with it. But when the bear is on screen, the movie is fun. The movie is gruesome, and the movie has some actual funny moments. Apparently, I was the only person in my theater that had a sense of humor, because I was the only one laughing at scenes. When the bear is, attacking people and the moments are funny, I was laughing. The one scene that is in the trailer that I am not giving anything away, when he lays on Alden Ehrenreich, I still thought that scene was funny as shit, and it was probably the funniest moment of the movie for me, because I just loved everyone's reactions to it. But it does take a lot of time to get into the film because of all the nonsense storylines for characters. There's a subplot with this one female cop that I literally think was tacked on at the very end, that really only served the purpose of the dog. I think that was the only thing, is that they didn't want to leave the dog.
And the dog itself was completely pointless too. So
exactly. So it was like, what was the whole point? And you guys go, oh, spoiler. It's really not. It's really not a spoiler. But I was like, at the end of the movie, I was like, what was the whole point about the female cop then? There really is, just so you had an end point for this dog that had no purpose in the film. But for what it was aspiring to do, which was to be a fun, gory, not a horror film. It's definitely not a horror film. It's just more like a fun thriller comedy, kind of like would you say, like kind of like a Tucker and Dale versus Evil kind of thing, where it's like, it's not a horror film. You're not going to go in and be scared. You're going in to watch insanity and absurdity happen with a bear mauling people. And if you have problems with gore, then yes, it's going to be horrific for people. But I think the story itself is absurd, but you have to be along for that ride. And if you can get on board with it, which Brian was, but he was just more bummed that he saw a lot of the movie in the trailer, I think you're going to be okay with this film. I think you're going to find it fun for the 90 minutes. And even at 90 minutes, I think it was probably 10 minutes too long, because I do think it kind of overran its course, because when they got
and I think it's a lot of these other characters and subplots they put in there to pad it out to make it at least over 90 minutes.
Yeah, because I when we got to the actual final act, and I'm saying that, and I know you know what I'm saying when we get to the final part, even I was like, this feels like we're going too far for this, and I kind of feel like this movie should have ended probably about 10-15 minutes sooner. Which for 90 minutes, that's a nitpick. I mean, you can't have a live action movie under 80 minutes, because then they're not going to release it in the theaters. So that's just personal nitpicks here and there. But at the end of the day, I enjoyed it. I have less, let's put it this way, I have less qualms about this than I do Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Knock at the Cabin. So right now, it's February. Cocaine Bear is my #1 movie of the year right now. Is it going to be #1 by the end of next week?
I hope not.
Coming out?
Oh, but next week? Next week.
God, I hope not.
If this end of the year.
If this beats Creed, I'm going to be so sad and upset, because this movie to me, like I said, what did you end up, what score did you give? I'm assuming, based off of your reaction, I'm assuming a 3-star.
3 stars.
3 stars. I'm giving this a 3.5, which to me is a 72%. I think when it is what it is, which is Cocaine Bear, I think it works. If you have not seen the trailer, that's going to benefit you. If you have seen the trailer, a lot of it's going to be stuff you have seen, like Brian said, but more rated R, unless you saw the Red Band trailer and you're seeing a good chunk of it. The characters are all well done. I liked, for the most part, everyone in the film. If you're supposed to hate them, you hate them. If you're supposed to feel sympathy for them, you feel sympathy for them. They're all doing the work. They're all doing what they're supposed to do as characters in this film. It's just, even at 90 minutes, it runs a little too long, and they add things that are just unnecessary.
Because I like Kerry Russell. I like her a lot. Her role in this kind of she's kind of there. I'm not sure she really gets to do a whole lot in this movie.
She's there because there has to be a heroine.
They have to have a heroine in it.
It's not even necessary.
I really think the movie, I mean, it could have been just about these drug runners out looking for the drugs and coming across them. I don't think they needed even the Kerry Russell subplot, but they had that one. Fine, whatever. That way they get a kid in there and they get a female lead in it, things like that. But yeah, I think that seeing the drug runners, like Ray Liotta actually has a relatively small part. He doesn't come in until later than most of the rest of the characters. This being is this his final role that we're going to see?
I think it might be his final role.
So
if not, there might be some straight to streaming that pops up.
I mean, he got to go out with something fun at least. I mean, because he's done some straight to streaming stuff in that. I'm glad he got to get more high profile role here. Yeah. O'Shea Jackson Jr., I like seeing him get more and more roles, because I think he's not like a great actor yet or anything, but I think he is somebody who is actually getting better and getting bigger roles, and I'm glad to see him working. And Alden Ehrenreich, I've always liked Alden Ehrenreich. I mean, I actually enjoyed Solo. It definitely had some problems to it, but I actually enjoyed most of the movie, and he was very good in it, I thought.
I thought he was good once they got to the forest. Up to that point, he's mostly just kind of mopey and cryy the whole time, and it was kind of annoying. But once they actually got into the forest with I can't remember the third character, but the third character I actually thought meshed really well with those two. I actually enjoyed that.
The teenager that was with him?
The teenager with him? I didn't think I was going to like that, but I actually really loved those three together.
He was fun. But like Alden is somebody I want to see more of. I mean, because like I said, he did Solo. I liked him in Hail Caesar. He was in something else he popped up into. I don't remember. But I'd like to see him get more and more roles. I think he just got blacklisted because of the way people felt about Solo. But yeah, acting wise, I thought that everybody did fine across the board. It was I think just in the writing.
Yeah, and even though we pretty much saw most of him in the trailer, my guy Scott Cease, who is a hilarious dude. If you guys have ever seen his videos online, he plays basically the guy who plays an employee who wants to say what we all think when we talk with customers in retail. He plays the ambulance guy. You see pretty much all of his stuff in the trailer, but he's funny. He's a funny dude. Look him up online if you guys haven't. That dude's great. And I was happy to see someone like that pop up in a movie, even for the role that he was in. So yeah, 3 stars for Brian, a 72% for me, which is effectively a 3.5-star film. Like I said, if you want to see something like this, definitely check it out. Is it necessarily to go out and spend $10+ in a theater for it? Probably not unless you know you're going to have a big crowd. I had a relatively small crowd, so I kind of felt awkward laughing when no one else was. But I think in a big theater, which did you have a big audience? You went to the earlier show, so probably not.
No, I went to like it's 5 p.m. here. There was a good 20 people there.
See, I had like 5 in mind. Granted, you live in a bigger area than I do. But if you're in a big theater with over 50%, I think you're actually going to enjoy this a hell of a lot more because the audience is going to get involved with it. If not, wait for this to pop up on streaming. It's a fun watch regardless. Like I said, the less you see of it, the better.
Yeah, it's universal. I think that you'll see this thing probably on like streaming, like for rental and purchase, maybe even in 3-4 weeks. Otherwise, it'll be on Peacock probably 45 days.
Very, very good possibility. But we hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you can stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the Movie Crusaders. Of course, you can follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Out right now, literally as we are filming this, our latest episode of Cinemasochism. Yesterday, we had our episode of the 1994 Roger Corman's Fantastic Four. Today, we have Kevin Smith's Yoga Hosers, and boy, do we talk about that. So that just dropped. Later in the week, we will have this week's episode of the Weekly Crusaders, as well as tomorrow, or depending on when this drops, it might already be Friday. We have a Ghost on Netflix pops up. I will try to get that watched and a review out this weekend if it's really worth talking about. Who knows? We'll find out. But next week, we've got Creed. We've got Operation Fortune. I don't know if I'm going to have that in my area, but they did drop a trailer of that during Cocaine Bear, and I really still want to see this movie. But definitely Creed 3 will 100% have a trailer for, as well as next week's Cinemasochism, which I still don't know what we're going to watch because Brian likes to leave me in the dark on the torture until it pops up. Yes. But anyway, I'm Sean Wastrup. That is Brian Michaels. We are the Movie Crusaders. And go watch movies and go have fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.